The investigation. The Galactic Council's central chamber hummed with tension. Representatives from over 300 species filled the massive amphitheater, their disparate forms creating a living tapestry of evolutionary diversity. At the center of this assembly stood Ambassador Krill, his translucent skin reflecting the chamber's ambient light as he addressed the gathering. For the 9th consecutive cycle, the Vidorian Collective has unanimously vetoed Earth's application for full membership status, Krill announced, his voice amplified throughout the chamber. Once again, they have provided no explanation for their opposition. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. The Vidorians were the oldest known species in the galaxy, their civilization spanning back nearly 50 million years. Their wisdom and technological prowess had guided countless younger species, including many present at the Council. Yet their unexplained hostility toward Earth remained a troubling mystery. Commander Celine Davis watched from the human delegation section, her military uniform standing out among the diplomatic attire. After 15 years of service in Earth's interstellar defense force, she understood politics well enough to recognize a deliberate pattern. The Vidorians avoided all contact with humans, refused to allow Earth ships near their territories, and blocked every attempt at diplomatic engagement. Commander Davis, a voice called from behind. Celine turned to find Admiral Chen approaching, his face grim. The Security Council has made a decision. We need to know why the Vidorians fear us. You've been selected to lead the investigation. Celine raised an eyebrow. Sir, the Vidorians have made it abundantly clear they want nothing to do with us. Exactly why we need answers, Chen replied. You'll take the stealth corvette Nightshade. Your mission is to reach the Vidorian homeworld and discover what they're hiding. Earth can't remain in this diplomatic limbo indefinitely. 3 weeks later, Celine stood on the bridge of the Nightshade as it emerged from FTL at the edge of the Vidorian home system. The ship's experimental cloaking technology, reverse-engineered from damaged Zith scout ships, should keep them hidden from detection. Passive scans only, Celine ordered. Let's not announce our presence. The Vidorian homeworld, Vadar Prime, appeared on the main display, a massive ringed planet with sprawling cities visible even from orbit. According to intelligence reports, the central archives containing their historical records were located beneath the capital city. How do we get access to their archives? Asked Lieutenant Kai, the team's Sinolinguist. We don't, Celine replied. Not directly. But intelligence suggests they maintain a secondary archive facility on the smaller moon. Less security, easier access. The Nightshade landed undetected on the dark side of Vadar's smaller moon. Celine led a team of 4 specialists across the airless surface toward a dome-like structure half buried in the lunar regolith. The facility appeared abandoned, its entrances sealed and power systems dormant. Dr. Reed, what are we looking at? Celine asked the team's Sinorchaeologist. Reed studied the readings on her scanner. It's definitely Vidorian architecture, at least 10,000 years old. But it's been deliberately sealed, not just abandoned. It took 3 hours to breach the facility's outer door without triggering any residual security systems. Inside, the air was stale but breathable. The environmental systems still functioning at minimal capacity. This isn't just an archive, Reed whispered as they moved through the dusty corridors. It's a quarantine facility. They'd reached the central chamber, where thousands of crystal data matrices lined the walls. Lieutenant Kai approached one of the access terminals, his fingers dancing across the unfamiliar interface. The system's isolated from their main network, but it's still operational, Kai reported. I can access basic historical files, but anything detailed will take time to decode. Focus on Earth, Celine ordered. Find any reference to humans or our solar system. Hours passed as Kai worked through the ancient data systems. The rest of the team explored the facility, discovering that it contained not just data archives, but biological samples, all securely contained and preserved. Commander, I found something, Kai called out suddenly. Records from approximately 25,000 years ago. There was a Vidorian scientific outpost on Earth during what would have been our last ice age. The terminal displayed images of primitive humans alongside detailed genetic and neurological scans. The Vidorian text scrolled alongside the images. "They were studying us," Reed said, leaning closer. "But why quarantine this information?" Kai continued translating. According to this, the Vidorian scientists observed something unusual in human neurological development. Some kind of potential. Celine felt a chill run down her spine. What kind of potential? It's technical, but it appears they detected latent abilities in the human brain. Abilities similar to what the Vidorians themselves possess, but in undeveloped form. They called it the Mind Fire. Further records revealed that the Vidorians had been monitoring Earth periodically for millennia, watching with increasing alarm as human civilization developed. The final entry, dated nearly 1,000 years ago, contained a formal declaration classifying Earth as a restricted world, with all information about humans to be contained and isolated. There's a personal log here from the scientist who led the final expedition, Kai said, his voice hushed. It says, "The humans remain unaware of their potential, but their neural evolution is accelerating. If they ever awaken the Mind Fire, not even the collective could stand against them. For the safety of all species, they must remain isolated." An alarm suddenly blared through the facility. Screens flashed with warning symbols, and a transmission in the Vidorian language echoed through the chamber. "We've been detected," Kai translated urgently. "They're ordering immediate quarantine lockdown. Download everything you can," Celine ordered, drawing her sidearm. "We need to get this information back to Earth." Heavy security doors began closing throughout the facility. The team raced back toward their entry point, Kai clutching a data crystal containing everything they'd discovered. "They're deploying ships from the planet," reported their pilot through the comm. "The Nightshade is still hidden, but I can't guarantee for how long." As they reached the outer door, a blinding light flooded the corridor. 3 Vidorians stood blocking their exit, their elongated forms surrounded by a shimmering field of energy. Unlike the diplomatic representatives seen at the council, these Vidorians wore what appeared to be battle armor. "Humans," the central figure spoke, its voice resonating directly in their minds. "You should not be here. You cannot leave with this knowledge." Celine stepped forward. "We came for the truth. Why does your species fear us?" "Fear?" The Vidorian tilted its head. "Yes, we fear what you may become, what you were designed to be." "Designed?" Reed asked. "What do you mean?" "You were not meant to exist," the Vidorian continued. "Your species was engineered long ago by enemies we destroyed eons past. They created you as weapons, with abilities locked deep within your genetic code. Abilities that would make you unstoppable if awakened." The Vidorian raised a slender hand, and the energy field around them intensified. "We cannot allow you to leave with this knowledge. The Mind Fire must remain dormant." Celine felt pressure building in her mind, a psychic attack attempting to overwhelm her consciousness. She fought against it, focusing on her training, on the mission. "Now," she shouted to her team. Dr. Reed activated a device on her belt, a prototype neural disruptor designed to counter Vidorian psychic abilities. The Vidorians recoiled, their energy fields fluctuating wildly. In the moment of confusion, Celine and her team pushed past them, sprinting across the lunar surface toward the hidden Nightshade. Behind them, alarms continued to blare from the facility, and in the distance, Vidorian ships descended from orbit. "Prepare for immediate departure," Celine ordered as they boarded the ship. "Maximum stealth. Evasive course out of the system." The Nightshade lifted off, its engines running silent as it slipped away from the moon. On the bridge, Celine watched as dozens of Vidorian vessels swarmed the area they had just left. "What did they mean we were designed?" Kai asked, still clutching the precious data crystal. "I don't know," Celine replied. "But whatever the truth is, the Vidorians have been hiding it for thousands of years, and now are going to find out why." As the Nightshade jumped to FTL, Leaving the Vidorian system behind, Celine couldn't shake the words of the ancient scientist. If they ever awakened the mind fire, not even the collective could stand against them. What power lay dormant within humanity? And what would happen when it finally awakened? The awakening. The Earth orbital defense platform, Olympus, was abuzz with activity as the Nightshade docked. Admiral Chen personally greeted Celine and her team as they disembarked, his face a mask of controlled urgency. The Vidorians have filed a formal protest with the Galactic Council, Chen said as they walked briskly through the station's corridors. They're claiming we violated their sovereign territory and stole classified information. Half the council is demanding we return the data unexamined. And the other half? Celine asked, curious about what the Vidorians are so desperate to hide. Chen led them into a secure conference room where Earth's highest military and scientific leaders waited. We have 48 hours before the council votes on sanctions against Earth. Tell us what you found. Over the next hour, Celine and her team presented everything they'd discovered in the lunar archive. The room fell silent as Dr. Reed explained the Vidorians' claim about humanity's engineered origins. According to the records, Reed said, approximately 150,000 years ago, an ancient species called the predecessors was engaged in a devastating war with the early Vidorian collective. The predecessors created numerous biological weapons, including a species with latent psychic abilities, us, designed to eventually develop powers that could counteract Vidorian dominance. But the predecessors lost the war before we could be activated, Kai added. The Vidorians discovered what we were meant to be but couldn't eliminate us without violating their own ethical codes regarding sentient life. Instead, they'd been containing us, preventing our contact with advanced technologies that might trigger our latent abilities. Admiral Chen frowned. So we're some kind of sleeper weapon created by a long-dead species. How credible is this information? Dr. Emily Zhao, Earth's leading xenogeneticist, had been analyzing the genetic data from the crystal. The Vidorian genetic analysis is surprisingly consistent with anomalies we've observed in human DNA for decades, sequences that appear designed rather than evolved. We've always attributed these to statistical quirks or ancient viral insertions. But they could be engineered capabilities waiting for the right trigger, finished Dr. Marcus Kim, the neurological specialist. The Vidorian data points to specific neural pathways that remain dormant in humans, but could potentially enable telepathic and telekinetic abilities similar to what the Vidorians themselves possess. Can we activate these abilities? Asked Defense Minister Ortega. The question hung in the air, its implications enormous. We might not need to deliberately activate anything, Dr. Zhao replied. According to these records, the Vidorians believe our increasing exposure to advanced technology and exotic physics is naturally awakening these dormant abilities. That's why they've been so adamant about blocking our full integration into galactic society. The meeting was interrupted by an urgent call. On the main screen appeared the face of Ambassador Krill, his normally composed features tense with concern. Admiral, the Vidorian fleet has left their territory for the first time in recorded history. 30 warships are on direct course for Earth. The Council is in chaos. Over the next 24 hours, the situation deteriorated rapidly. The Vidorian fleet maintained its course toward Earth, while their representatives to the Galactic Council formally accused humanity of being biological weapons that posed an existential threat to all civilized species. 7 other species withdrew their diplomatic missions from Earth. 12 more demanded that humans submit to genetic restrictions that would prevent the development of their potential abilities. In a hastily convened emergency session, Earth's united government faced an impossible decision: surrender to Vidorian demands for genetic modification of the entire human race, or face potential isolation, or worse, from the galactic community. It was Dr. Zhao who proposed a third option. The Vidorians fear what we might become, but they don't actually know what we're capable of, she explained to the assembled leaders. Their records show they've never observed an awakened human, I believe we should conduct controlled activation trials with volunteers. Despite significant ethical concerns, the imminent arrival of the Vidorian fleet forced a decision. 20 volunteers, all military personnel with exceptional psychological stability, were selected for the first trial. The procedure was deceptively simple. Using the Vidorian data, Dr. Zhao and Dr. Kim identified the specific neural pathways that needed stimulation. A carefully calibrated electromagnetic field, combined with compounds derived from rare elements found only on distant worlds, served as the catalyst. Celine watched from behind shielded glass as the first volunteer, Captain Maya Santos, underwent the procedure. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then Santos gasped, her eyes widening. "I can feel you," she whispered, looking around at the scientists. "All of you. Your thoughts, your emotions." Over the next 12 hours, all 20 volunteers demonstrated varying degrees of telepathic ability. Some showed rudimentary telekinesis, the ability to move small objects with thought alone. Others displayed empathic capabilities, sensing emotions from significant distances. But it was the unexpected side effect that proved most significant. When in proximity to one another, the volunteers' abilities seemed to amplify exponentially. Together, they could project thoughts across vast distances, move larger objects, and even generate protective energy fields similar to Vidorian defenses. "It's a network effect," Dr. Kim explained. "The predecessors designed humans not just as individual psychics, but as a collective consciousness. Together, our abilities grow exponentially." The Vidorian fleet entered the solar system just as Earth's leaders were debating how to proceed. Attempts at communication were met with silence. The fleet maintained formation, approaching Earth with clear intent. "They're not here to negotiate," Admiral Chen said grimly. "They're here to neutralize what they see as an existential threat. Us." Earth's defense fleet moved to intercept, but they were significantly outgunned by the ancient Vidorian warships. As tensions reached their peak, Celine approached Admiral Chen with a proposal. "Let us try," she said simply. "The 20 of us who've undergone the procedure." Chen hesitated. "What can 20 people do against a fleet?" "We don't know our limits yet," Celine replied. "But neither do they." The 20 volunteers were transported to Olympus Station, positioned between Earth and the approaching Vidorian fleet. There, in a specially prepared chamber, they formed a circle, joining hands. Celine had undergone the activation procedure last, and now she stood among her fellow volunteers, feeling the strange new awareness flowing between them. As they concentrated together, their individual consciousnesses began to merge, forming something greater than the sum of its parts. "Focus on the lead Vidorian ship," Dr. Kim instructed through their comms. "Establish contact." The combined minds of the 20 reached out across the void, searching for the alien consciousness commanding the fleet. When they found it, the contact was explosive, a meeting of minds that had been designed to counterbalance each other. Through this connection, the Vidorians witnessed firsthand what they had feared for millennia. Awakened humans, their latent abilities now active. But they also experienced something unexpected. Not the weapon consciousness they had dreaded, but something different, minds shaped by Earth's unique evolutionary pressures and human cultural development. The Vidorian fleet halted its advance. For several tense minutes, no communication was received. Then, a single message was broadcast, not just to Earth's defense forces, but to the entire Galactic Council. "We have been in error," the message began. "Humanity was indeed engineered by the predecessors, but not as the weapon we feared. They were designed as a counterbalance, a species whose mental abilities would eventually match our own, preventing any single power from dominating the galaxy." The revelation sent shockwaves through galactic society. The Vidorians, who had isolated themselves for millennia except for their council participation, revealed that their own psychic abilities had led to stagnation, a civilization united in thought, but increasingly sterile in ideas and innovation. The predecessors foresaw this. The Vidorian elder explained in a historic address to the council 3 months later. They engineered humanity not to destroy us, but to challenge us, to prevent the homogeneity of thought that has limited our development. In our fear, we nearly destroyed our intended salvation. The integration of humanity into the galactic community proceeded rapidly after that. The Vidorians themselves helped establish training protocols for humans with awakened abilities, while strict ethical guidelines were developed to govern the use of these powers. Not all humans chose to undergo the awakening process, and many who did discovered their abilities were modest. But the potential was there in all human DNA, a gift from long-dead creators who had foreseen the need for mental diversity in a galaxy dominated by a single psychic tradition. 1 year after the Nightshade's mission, Celine stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Galactic Embassy on Earth, watching ships from dozens of worlds arrive for the formal recognition ceremony. Beside her stood Eldor, a Vidorian diplomat who had become an unlikely friend. "Your species still makes many of us nervous," Eldor admitted, his thoughts gently brushing against her mind. "You are unpredictable, chaotic." Celine smiled. "That's precisely why the predecessors chose to create us. The galaxy needed a little chaos." "Indeed," Eldor replied. "And now we must learn from each other, your chaotic innovation and our ordered wisdom. Together, perhaps we will achieve what neither could alone." As the ceremony began, Celine felt the presence of her fellow awakened humans across the globe, a network of minds slowly learning to connect and share, not in the uniform harmony of the Vidorians, but in a diverse, constantly shifting tapestry of individual thoughts united in purpose. The dark secret that had kept humanity isolated had been transformed into a bright new beginning, not just for Earth, but for a galaxy that had grown too comfortable with its ancient order. The species that had once dreaded humanity now looked to them as partners in an uncertain but promising future.